Chapter 5, Brother, I'm Dying. Titled, We're All Dying. My mother was right about my plane ride to Miami that July 2004. It was going to be the most lonesome of my life. After checking in and clearing security, I called my husband from the airport gate. "I can't wait to see you both," he said in his unwaveringly cheerful voice. Soon after I hung up, I learned that the flight would be delayed 5 hours. We wouldn't leave until 8 p.m. The fluttering in my stomach, no longer mysterious, continued. It was a presence now, one to which I could assign all kinds of deeds and traits, a little baby sleeping, walking, doing cartwheels. At that stage of the pregnancy, my baby was most likely an inch long, a tiny tadpole with a yet undeveloped heart and brain and only micro bumps for arms and legs. But here she was already the only person besides my dying father who was constantly on my mind. I called my father's cell phone to tell him I was going to be delayed. Perhaps, if he wasn't too far from the airport, he could come back and get me. He didn't answer. Was something wrong? Wrong was now the norm. Did something even worse happen? I would ask myself that question each time I called him and the phone wasn't picked up. Was he in a car crash? Was he dead? I kept calling the house until my mother answered. He just dropped me off," she said, dragging her words. "He's not answering the phone," I said. "You know him. He probably forgot to charge it." My father was at the car service office when he finally picked up his cell phone. "I thought you'd left," he said. There were times when he was relaxed and well-rested that he didn't sound ill at all. As he grew sicker, I'd have to look for hints in his tone to judge for myself when he wasn't doing well. "Should I come and get you?" he asked. Not wanting him to be overextended himself, I said, "I should probably stay in case the plane leaves sooner than expected. I just wanted you to know." "Call me again before you take off," he said. I had several hours left, so I speed-walked the terminals while I called my brothers to tell them the news. Bob had just left my parents' house, where he'd been visiting with my mother. "Mom doesn't like the way you told him," he said, confirming my suspicion. I called my mother again. After all, I reasoned, what if the plane crashed when I finally got on and I lost forever my chance to tell her I was sorry? "Maman, excuse me, I'm sorry." Perhaps it was the combined thrill and sorrow stirred up by both the pregnancy and my father's illness, but I wanted her never to be angry with me again. Next, I called my brother Carl at work. "Welcome to my world," he said. I could almost see him grinning as he shuffled some papers back and forth on his desk. "You'll never be on time for anything again, and sleeping in? Forget it." Those caveats were now a link between us. Oldest sister and baby brother, we could now discuss not just our parents, but our kids. When I finally called my brother Kelly, he remembered a conversation we'd had when I was a senior in high school, when I declared that my greatest dream in life was to be a childless spinster so I could have total freedom to write my books. "Now the married spinster is pregnant," he laughed. Announcing my pregnancy kept me from talking about my father, at least for a while. Walking through the terminal, I called a few friends, people I didn't want to wait to the safe 12 weeks to tell. However, I told only 2 of them the flip side of my news, that my father was dying. One, who knew my father well, became angry with me for accepting the doctor's prognosis so easily. "What does the doctor know?" she shouted. "He did tests," I said, "and my father knows too." "Listen to me," she interrupted. "Screw the doctor. We're all dying. Some of us might fall in the shower and hit our heads. Some of us might get hit by a bus. Some of us might get struck by lightning. Some of us might have diseases we don't even know about. We're all dying." Of course, this too had also crossed my mind. Maybe it was in the elevator on the way down from Dr. Padman's office, or at the table at the family meeting, or maybe it was the car sitting between my mother and father on the drive to the airport, or some other point in between, but I too had told myself the same thing. I had heard it before, from my uncle. Maybe we're all dying, one breath at a time.